co-host this meeting. And let me get this off my page here. And let me just tell you, I'm a lot out of my comfort zone right now. So bear with me as we get this meeting started. Dustin's on his way. He just went to go drop off his fabulous kids. So for those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Norma Chaplin. I've been with Prove It for 6 years. I started my business overseas when I was living in Saudi Arabia. So I'm currently in Texas. I do have an international business, and it's been an amazing adventure for 6 years. If you're just tuning in, if you can in the chat for me, let me know where you're from. We'd love to find out where all our provers are from all around the world. If you'll just put that in the chat, that would be great. And number two, if you can please let me know, let all of us know what was a great win for you last week, or what are you grateful for? We've been having a lot of different things going on currently with Prove It. And all these community calls, all these training calls that we've had, it's been leading to a lot of conversations for all of us in our business. So we'd love to be able to hear from you in the chat group with your wins. I'm trying to get everybody in here real quick. Oh, look, we've got people from Washington State, Indiana, anybody from overseas.
Hey, Norma.
Yes.
I mean, you got me all excited, so I gotta say, I gotta ask something. As you guys are saying what you're grateful for in the chat, Norma, I want to ask you a question. Do you actually know how you got introduced to Prove It, like where it started, how? Because y'all, I don't know if you heard this. She's from Texas, lives in Texas, but she was in overseas when she got introduced to Prove It. And I think this is a really good time, maybe, for people to realize, like, this grows if you stay on track and focus on your mission of what you want to accomplish. This thing will grow around the world for you. You'll have an international business, and it's not that you have to go search for it. You have to search and focus on your focus, on your goals, on your dreams, and it'll expand there. And so, Norma, can you explain to everybody, like, how, in living in Saudi Arabia, an American, how did you find out about ketones and now have a global business because you live somewhere else? Can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. When I was living overseas in Saudi, I was turning 50, and I was just in a different phase of my life at that time. And I met Osa, who was from Sweden, who found the ketones from somebody from New Zealand. And she happened to live in the same camp that we lived when I lived in. And she told me about this amazing product. Of course, I was skeptical. I was like, my family's full of doctors and nurses, and we don't do supplements. That was a big no in growing up. But she's like, no, this isn't like the keto diet. It's not like really a supplement. She goes, just try it. It's going to make you feel better. And so I did. I tried them. And I kid you not, at the time that I can remember, I was just the moodiest person in the world at that time. I didn't know it as I was going through it, but my family telling me now, like, I'm a completely different person than I was 6 years ago. And I remember standing in my kitchen about 2 weeks after I was drinking the ketones. My son came in and he said, Mom, I don't know what Miss Osa is making you drink every day, but you need to drink these every day. You are a much better mom. You're happier. And most of all, you're not screaming at us every day. And I kind of looked back and I was like, Mason, that's my son's name, I don't scream at y'all. He's like, yes, Mom, I left a sock on the floor. It was just a sock, and here you are screaming at me to pick it up. Because I don't know what was wrong. All I know is I got so scared, I picked up that sock and I ran to my room. And so that made me, I was like, oh my gosh, am I that kind of mom? And so, again, it was those ketones. I just knew it was those ketones. My husband, a week later, he's like, yeah, you need to keep drinking these ketones because we all voted in this house that we wanted to ship you back home. So 6 years later, I'm still drinking the ketones, and I absolutely drink the ketones. I'm drinking the Fuel by Female, the new flavored one. I absolutely love this one right now, just so that I can stay in a good mood all day. Definitely an energy booster as well. So,
I got another question for you though.
Yeah.
This is too good. So, okay, you basically literally lived in another country. Somehow this gets exposed to you. Now you have a business in the U.S. You have a business in all over the world. Truth. But you said you live in a camp, like band camp. Like, I don't understand. You lived in a camp. What does that mean? Because most of these people don't understand parts of the world that are a little different. Can you explain a little bit about what that was like and where you were at? Because I want people to understand that there's an opportunity here. I promise you, if you focus on your goals and you do the activity and you keep your energy right, amazing things will fall in your lap. And so can you explain a little bit more about this camp?
So yes, I did live in a little camp in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia on the beach. It was a very nice area, but it was very, very small. We had about 3,000 people in our camp. It was a US based camp. And in camp, you know, it was just like a little neighborhood in your back door and in your backyard. When I met and decided to do this business, I would kind of talk to people in my camp about the ketones, but my friend Osa, who got me into business, she had lived there for 15 years. Everybody on the camp knew Osa. So I would tell a lot of people about the ketones. People got super excited about it. This is something new. They saw how I changed, and they wanted the ketones too. The problem was that they didn't know me that well. So they would go and buy ketones from her. I would give all the deets on them, but they would go and buy it from her. So I had to really think outside of the box. What could I do to get customers for myself? I was always told, okay, go back and tap into my home, my friends and family back in the US. But the problem at that time was I didn't always have internet access because we did live in a camp. We were ruled by a king. And if the king didn't want you to have Wi-Fi, this, that, and the other, you just weren't going to have it. So I had to really think outside the box. So I started an Instagram account. I had like maybe 10 people on there, 10 followers at the time. But I went and searched for some people that they were doing keto in Saudi, or tried to find some influencers. I found it. What happened was I found a baker who was making keto breads. And so I connected with her, and she lived on the other side of Saudi Arabia, Jeddah. And so I was like, okay, there was a little bit of a language barrier. I did learn a little bit of Arabic to get myself by, but at that time I was pretty new. And she was like, yeah, I'd like to be able to try some ketones. Well, I didn't know the mail system or how to get ketones to her. I just knew I needed to meet this lady because she was giving me a chance. So I bought an airplane ticket, which was about $50 for me back then. Osa and I flew to the other side of Saudi Arabia, to Jeddah. Neither one of us had been to this city. And we landed. I had no clue where we were going, what we were doing. We had a meeting set up at this mall, and she didn't show up. So we were like, okay, we were booked to stay there for 2 days. We had a backpack full of ketones. I'm dressed in an abaya. What are we going to do? So we decided, and at this time, being pretty new to Saudi, I didn't know like all the customs and stuff like that. Well, we just decided to go door knocking. And we were out in the middle of desert area. It's 130 degrees. We're dressed in abaya. We've got a backpack full of ketones. We're literally knocking on doors. At the time, we didn't really know that all the beautiful, ornate looking buildings, those were all for the men. All the little side buildings, things that weren't that great looking, were for the women. But we didn't know that at the time. So we'd knock on these doors, or we'd go in, and we'd quickly get pushed out the door because men and women, it's segregated over there. And they're like, what are you doing? What do you want? I mean, they were like talking and yelling at us. And I was like, oh my God, are we going to do this? And I was just like, yes, we are. Let's go to the next door. So we figured it out. We'd have to go to the women's area. And after about 10 doors, there was somebody, it was a ladies' gym, that let us come in, and we spoke about the ketones. And that's literally how I started my business internationally. And to this day, the lady that I connected with has never met me, but through that one chance opportunity that I decided to take overseas and flying across, Saudi, was the beginning of my business.
Well, mic drop. So y'all, we had a Zoom set up today, and we'll get to the training actually about what we're going to do today. And it just, if y'all know, it's hard for me to stay on script. So, and I asked Norma to co-host because I couldn't make it on time, and I wanted her to share some things anyway. But tomorrow night we have this really cool live, and we're going to get into that live, this guest live, something we haven't done in a long time. And actually in this format, we've never done before. But I when Norma was sharing, I was like, you know what?
tomorrow night you get the opportunity to have one of the most unbelievable presenters and speakers and a leader to help your people make a decision on buying ketones or join Improve It. And I was thinking, Norma literally lived in a country where they're in a camp, meaning like a segregated place that they had to live. Most of her family isn't there, right? I mean, she just had a couple friends there, and she launched her business there. And I think somebody, Miguel, put it in the chat, like no excuses. And the reality is what I can tell you is everything works if you work. Everything works if you work. Now, there is a couple of things, and you can write these things down, is you got to be excited. You got to be excited. Like, you don't even have to have a real goal yet. I mean, some people are like, you got to know your goals, you got to know your dreams. And I'm a big fan of knowing your goals and dreams. But at the beginning, some people don't. They just want different. They just want change. They haven't quite figured out what they really want. But if they're excited and move towards it, magical things will happen. If you think about this, how many of you all right now got on a flight, flew across the country to a place where you shouldn't have been? Like, literally, they probably could have put in jail. I don't even know, but it was. She said no, they wouldn't have been put in jail.
No,
But like,
but I have some taxi cab stories that I could tell you. It's pretty crazy.
but the reality is now she's a champion. Improve It. She's a loyal, unbelievable leader, and such a diverse abilities because she was put in these situations. So maybe sometimes we're too comfortable. We have such a comfortability of where we're at. It's harder to step out. And I have a problem with this. Like, right, I'm so comfortable where I'm at. Sometimes it's harder for me to reach out to people because it's like there's a complacency or comfortableness. So if you're too comfortable, what I want you to do is go get some, board of nails, put it underneath your seat at your office, and every time you sit down, sit on a board of nails so you get uncomfortable. Please don't do that. But if you did, let me know. But with that said, Norma, I just want to say I appreciate you for putting the time and effort in. Y'all, she came in through our business through a series of people that you couldn't write up on a board. You can't make it up. You couldn't even dream of how the path that she got out of there. There's some other greater force that allowed this to unfold for Norma to come into our business or even into Prove It as a whole. And that for another day, I'll explain the path of how she got here. But it happened. We weren't open in New Zealand. We weren't open in Australia. We're still not open in the EAU. We're still just expanding into Europe now. We're not open in Sweden right yet. And so it's interesting of how this all unfolded for you. So if you really want to Prove It to work for you, you got to work for it. And there's a couple secrets, and then we're going to get to this guest Zoom tomorrow. And the secrets are this: teachable, coachable, leadable. Was Norma teachable, coachable, leadable? Yes. Osa said, let's go. She said, okay. She just did it. Was there a script? There's still not a script for what she did. It doesn't exist, right? There's no plan. You can't, I need you to buy a flight, fly halfway across the country and go door knocking. Like, that's not a script. That doesn't exist. But what existed, they were excited. They had enthusiasms. The product helped them get extremely motivated, right? That experience on that product does matter. We want people to have an experience on that product. So that's important. So anyway, I just want to say thank you for that. And for everybody out there, tomorrow we got something way simpler. Let me ask you all this question. Would you guys all rather invite to a Facebook Live tomorrow, or would you rather buy an airline ticket, go door knocking in 3 towns away from here or 5 towns away from here? Anybody else would they rather do that? Who do you want to invite to the live? Could you imagine though if you put the same energy it took to get on a flight, fly, and go door knocking? Could you put that same energy into a Facebook Live that's going to be handed to you to all of us? What do you think would happen to your business right now? Somebody on this training is going to go ham, go unbelievably crazy on this Facebook Live tomorrow, and they're going to see their entire life change by Epic, completely transform. They might have 25, 30 people at Epic because of what they did right now for the next 30, 32 hours, whatever it is, until the live tomorrow night. So what I want to do is kick over to that. But before I do that, y'all give Danny and Chris Webb a big shout out for doing their little Better Life party last weekend. The slide deck is coming. It's a work in progress. So you guys stay tuned for that. And then last reminder before we get into that is don't forget playbook is still got some room. So let's get people the playbook. It's going to be an unbelievable opportunity for people to change their life forever. But tomorrow night, does anybody know what's going on tomorrow? Does anybody not know what's going on tomorrow night? I know Norma already kind of set it up a little bit, but does anybody have it? Just don't know what's going on tomorrow night. Just it's okay if you don't know, it's fine. So tomorrow night we're doing something different. I'm going to kind of tease it a little bit. So during Keto Academy, I had a moments where I got to interview with Dr. Andy and Dr. Wilson, and the response in the chat was overwhelming. It was like, we need to do more of those because people's belief and confidence and understanding went way up rather than just the doctor talking. The doctor talking was great, but the interview gave people the sense of, wow, this is pretty amazing. Like, I'm understanding me now through this conversation. So what we're going to do tomorrow, and for the whole month, we're going to, instead of using Zoom, let me ask you this question. For some of you, are there people out there that just will not get on a Zoom? Do you have people in your team that will just not get on a Zoom? So true story, I can't see the chat. There we go. True story. We're in the pre-launch of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and I was doing Zooms with everybody. And they would only get like 12 people on. We're launching a freaking country and you can only get 12 people on. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this doesn't make any sense. So finally, one of the girls, her name's Melanie. She's an extraordinary, amazing person. And she goes, Dustin, can we do a Facebook Live? Just you and I, and just kind of tell people what we're doing in a really cool attention driven way. Not like a keto 101, but like just an attention grabber. So we did a live. She had 147 people on her live. 147 people. She doesn't even have that many friends on Facebook. I'm like, I don't understand how this works. And so we switched over there and we stopped doing Zoom. We did lives instead of Zooms because for whatever reason, their people would get on the live, but they wouldn't get on the Zoom. Maybe because it's just the demographics, the culture. I don't actually know. So what we did this month is we're going to do a live Q&A with the doctor. And it's not going to just be one-on-one. It's going to be 2 to 3 personalities. So like tomorrow, it's Stephanie Milky, myself, and we actually haven't decided on the third person yet, with Dr. Andy. So we're each going to ask a question based off of our perspective. But the outcome is this. If you saw the title of the live, the idea of the title is to provoke thought, is to provoke, oh, I want to know that answer. Do you all see the difference of what we did? When you think about it as like, hey, what are ketones? Well, like if you don't really care, you don't really care. Does that make sense? But if you look at the title and it says like how to burn body fat better, or like the struggles of burning body fat, who does not want to learn about that? Right? If you want to lose body fat, each week we'll have a different topic. So the idea is for us to create a topic that actually creates interest for people to want to know. But the neat thing about the live is that we have the unique ability to invite differently. So it gives us just a different way of inviting to the same thing. But the other thing about this live that makes it really important is in the chat, drop me a 1 if you want a better, bigger, faster business. And give me a 2 if you believe that if people drink ketones longer, they stay longer and they're willing to share more ketones. So this Zoom tomorrow is not just for your guests. It's for your current promoters. It's for every single customer in the world. Why? Because it's going to increase their belief. It's going to help answer some questions. Maybe they're on a plateau. Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they just need some clarity. Maybe they need some confidence. So this Zoom tomorrow, or this live tomorrow, is designed to increase the belief of the promoter, to increase the belief of the customer, for a guest to know that this is a place that they can be trusted, that we're trustable, that this is a place that they can get answers, they can get guidance and the proper coaching to transform their life, as long as they're willing to participate. So it's a cool call because it's going to be a guest call. At the same time, it's going to be a belief builder for everybody else. Will there be a recording? Let me say this again. This is a Facebook Live. So it'll stay as a Facebook Live so that you can invite to after the fact. You will be able to invite to it later. You'll be able to re-reference back to it. When somebody says, well, how does this work for fat burning and fat loss or weight loss? You're like, hold on, I got a video. You need to watch this video. Now we're going to do our best to keep it in 30 minutes. But let's be honest, if we have 4 people on there interviewing 3 people interviewing Dr. Andy, it might go a little bit longer. So I'm going to set it up to try to make the first 15 minutes the most impactful. So if somebody only has 15 minutes, they can make a clear decision within 15 minutes. At the same time, I don't want to end it because it's a belief builder. I want people to gain their beliefs over time. And the longer they stay on, the longer they're going to believe, the more they're going to believe. So that's what's really, really cool about this. So tomorrow night, it's a series. This will be a 4-part series. We'll have different doctors each week. We might have a double up one time. I think Dr. Andy's too valuable, maybe not to use her twice. So we might use her for fat burning. We might use her as like maybe a hormone middle-aged, man, woman going through some cycles, like 40 to 55-year-old people that are hormones are starting to change. Y'all, I'm 46. My testosterone levels are starting to dip a little bit, So I want to understand that better. So these are things that we'll use these doctors for. Dr. Wilson might be more performance-based, right? More muscle preservations for people that want to work out and become fit at all different levels. So these are some cool things that we're going to do. So Norma, that's what tomorrow represents. And I'm super excited about this. Big shout out to Nick for getting this thing organized and putting it together. So what I'd like to do is take the next 5 minutes and really come up with some ideas of how do we invite to it, and do we invite differently to this? So Norma, I know you have some things that you can post on social media. I'm going to have you share that, but also any tips that you can give us around how to invite to this Facebook Live, and is it different than what you would do on a Zoom?
Hey, Dustin. Okay. Is it different? I don't know if it's necessarily different, except that they get to come on and view the live at any time when, during or have the replay after. But one thing you can do with a live on Facebook is actually share it to your own page or share it to any groups that you might belong to. It'd be a great time to share that live. As far as posting, I did a little poll in my Instagram stories and Facebook stories. Super easy. If you don't know how to do a poll in your stories, maybe if you put put a 1 in the chat, I could quickly go over that, or you can just ask your leader. But what I did for a story post today was I just put, you guys all in your private post got the image of Dr. Andy about the promotion for tomorrow night. What I did was I cropped Dr. Andy out, and I put a picture of her in my stories, and I put, who wants the secret to getting your body to burn fat better? And then with the little poll icon, I put, yes, me, send the deets now. And then that way it's in my stories, and everybody that clicks yes or definitely wants it, then that's a conversation starter for me to go back to them and say, hey, that's great. We're going to have an amazing call with Dr. Andy. And you can use some of the wording from the Pulse message saying she's a nationally recognized ketone expert and thought leader. As a mom and practicing physician, she understands and utilizes ketones. Here's the link to join the Facebook Live tomorrow, and I give it to them. The one thing that you don't want to do is take this picture with the link and just post it as a post. Okay. Number one, it doesn't always look good. Number two, you don't know if anybody that's following you or sees your post is on the call tomorrow night. You don't know who to follow up with. So don't just go and post this picture. Take some of the information from it and do a little, like I said, a post in your story. And I also did this in my feed. I just made a little quote on my Facebook that just said the same thing. Who wants the secret on how to get your body to burn fat better? Hand emoji. Okay, so everybody that likes the picture on my Facebook page or comments, I will send them the information on how to get the information on the live. Justin, do you have anything?
Here you go. Yeah, so I saw a few ones in the chat, and these are one strategy. These are really good strategies. So what Norma did is she took the picture and basically cropped it out all the wording. Why? Because on a post, it's often cleaner so that people can kind of go, oh, it's more eye grabbing if you have a lot of information on there, which is great for a flyer to tell somebody about it. but not necessarily a great way to always attract people to read something when it's very wordy, right? So what Norma did is she went to Instagram or Facebook. She did a story on your stories, and then she wrote some words on there. I want to know the secret of getting your body to burn fat. Am I going to steal this? 100,000,000%. I'm going to take it. It's mine now. And then she did is you go to the little square box and she put a poll, and it said you could put a couple answers in there. Now keep in mind Facebook is different than Instagram. It's a little bit different format, but relatively the same concept. So this is a great way. Now once people respond back to that, you go back to your stories and then you swipe up on that story and it'll tell you who answered the poll. Now you're going to want to do this sooner than later because this will stay on your stories for 24 hours. And the reason why is that you want to have time to follow up with them. And then keep in mind, Norma, I'm going to have you write down the follow up, what you said in the follow up in the comments, if you don't mind, or in the chat box. But remember on the follow up, they said yes, they want information. So give them the information, but also create conversation. Tell them they're going to love it. Tell them this is going to be unbelievable, And then also what I would recommend is anybody that you tell about this, write their name down in a little nifty notebook, and then send them a 10 or 20-minute reminder. Send them a private message to remind them, hey, here's the link to the Facebook Live that's going to start in 10 minutes. Maybe it's 30-minute reminder, whatever that looks like. So this is just some things to follow up with. Now, what makes the live a little bit different than the Zoom is the live, remember, people don't have to show their face. So they can just listen. They don't have to, it seems less intrusive for people to be on a live. So the nice thing is if you know the person's a little bit more introverted, maybe not as outgoing socially, you might just say, hey, listen, the good news is you don't have to even show your face. You can just sit back on the live and listen in. So you can give them kind of the reason to listen in if you sense that they're uncomfortable. The other really cool thing about this live is that it's really easy for them to click on the link in a messenger chat. So if you send it to Messenger, right, if they click on the link, then it just opens up. So there's less that they have to do. They don't have to put a password in. I know it seems kind of simple, but y'all, when we started with Zoom years ago, like it was complicated. People were terrified. And just because we're comfortable on a Zoom doesn't mean they are yet. So using these lives is a great tool to help people maybe break down some of those barriers of their resistance and give them the opportunity to invite. Now, here's a couple other things I want to do. Norma, any other tips about inviting? I want to give a couple more, and then I will end this thing.
I'm trying to write this chat and I'm almost finished with it, but definitely reach out to anybody that you've had conversations with, anybody who's participated in your Freebie Fridays the last few weekends, any new orders, anybody that's ordered a trial pack, just anybody that you've had a conversation with. This is definitely your time and opportunity to reach out to them and send a message. I'm always just super happy and excited when Dr. Andi is on a call. She's an amazing doctor. And I also frame my messages saying, this is a doctor that I work with in my private business. So, I always add that in my messages as well.
It's a good association. I love that. So last thing I'm going to end you with, y'all, let's get excited about this. This will be step one. The nice thing is, yes, it'll be recorded, but I would always try to get them on the live because it gives you the opportunity to invite to the replay. Norma just put down there a follow-up on the message. So you can copy and paste that if you'd like. It's in the chat right now. So as for your current people, your trial customers, one of the things that I would recommend in a great way, it's kind of like a great way to ask this question is, hey, did you get a chance to see the live we're doing about maximizing fat burning? Now you can rewrite that in your own words. Hey, did you get a chance to see the live we're going to do about fat burning, or the struggles of fat burning? That's even better. The struggles of fat burning. Hey, did you get a chance to see the live we're going to do about the struggles of fat burning? So what you're doing is you're asking them, even if there's no way impossible mind that they saw it. Maybe they just didn't see it, right? Even though they didn't do, you don't know that they didn't. They don't know that you don't see that, right? So then the follow-up is they're going to either say yes or no. No, I did not. Awesome. If I send you the details, you want to check it out. So it gives you the ability to have that dialogue and that conversation. And I would do this if I was me, as much as you can, I would do it within your messenger chats, because once again, it's easier for them to click on the link and refer up. Also, in the messenger chats, put a little fun emoji that's maybe unique for you. If you're going to do a lot of this, if you're going to do 30, 40, 50 of them, and you have a busy messenger chat, put something like a unique character so you can search the character, and then it pops up all those chats. And then you can follow up with them 10, 20 minutes before the live, and you can remind them, hey, just a heads up, here's the link. Now, why I like that language, hey, by chance, did you get to see the Facebook Live that we're going to be doing about the struggles of fat loss? Because then the follow-up after the live, you can go back and say, hey, did you get a chance to see the live we just did about the struggles of... So it gives you the ability to use the same language, it's just changing the time. So it's just part of that conversation that you're going to create. And it gives you the opportunity right now, if you haven't been able to get more than 2 or 3 guests on a Zoom, or 1 or 2 guests on a Zoom, I guarantee if you play this one right and you put the energy into it, you'll get 5 or 10 people on this live if you play it right, because it's just a path of least resistance. And then let the live people, let us do the heavy lifting for you. And then your job is just to find out if they got on or not and follow up. Cool. Now you can do the tag. You can tag people in live. There's other ways to do that. That's probably not right now. Maybe we can do that as a follow-up. On Wednesday, we can talk about how to do a little tag for people. Definitely share it into your groups, but I would do more than just share it to your groups. I would tag people in it as you're sharing it, because if you have a group, you have your own Facebook group and you want your customers to get a higher belief, I would just add it to the group, but then I would tag all those people so that they're getting hit a couple different ways from it if you didn't or weren't able to hand them a private message. So, all right, Norma, that's all I have. Anything else that before we can wrap up?
No, not at the moment. I think you covered it all very nicely and smoothly, not all choppy and nervous like I was. So
No, you did great. You did great. Well, I just going to say, everybody give Norma some love. Like you said early on, this is a little bit of one of her obstacles is to publicly be on here and present. And she doesn't even know how world-class she is. And that's a lesson for all of you to know, is that you all have greatness and you all are great. It's there. It's always been there. You just got to step into it. And most often somebody sees the greatness in you, sometimes even before you see it in yourself. And so I see that in you, Norma. So I just want to say I appreciate you. But so many of you out there have that. If you want to do something great, go step into it. I promise you. And it can start right now by inviting to tomorrow. And then make sure you get to one of the playbooks and utilize that as a pivoting point for your business. So with that said and done, y'all, have an unbelievable night. Circle of Champions. We have our call at 4 Eastern Standard Time today. So plug into that. Cheers, y'all. Thanks, Norma.